Hello, and thank you for joining me on another episode of Miss Vega Says What. I'm Miss Vega. This episode is going to be about a phone diet, and I'm going to just start talking about me kind of a little bit because I feel like I avoid that quite a bit in the videos. And so I'm going to explain a little bit about myself, and it might make sense why I tend to avoid personal talk. Well, for one, I want the channel and my content to be seen more as like scientific data and not something that has happened to me or personal observation. So to do that, you kind of study how to reduce personal observation. And also, I want to say that I am just like a very shy person, and I don't want to do this. I don't like social media. I have social media just for this channel, but I don't like social media and I don't like phones. And so that leads me to the topic of this episode, which is how to do a phone diet. And I want to explain that I chose this outfit, which is like skeletons and like death. And my earrings are phones, but my dress is like skeletons and death because I know that like being away from your phone makes you want to die. But to me, it's the opposite. Being on my phone and doing phone stuff makes me want to die. So I'm out here because I think that the information I can give you can be useful. And so one of my friends says about me that I am not a performer. I'm not into entertainment, or out to entertain, but I myself am an entertaining person. So I just want to use like God's gifts, honestly, to give you guys this message in case you might find yourself addicted to your phone or just wanting to chill out a little bit with your weekly minutes on your phone. So how you do a phone diet is, so first thing first, I call my own practice, which I do for myself within my head, a phone diet. That's just what I've called it. I've probably been doing this for maybe like going on 3 years. And what I'll acknowledge is that it's very difficult. Even for me, it was difficult, and I don't even like phones. And I found it difficult to reduce how much screen time I had. So the way I started working it is, for one, I was intentional about calling it a phone diet. If that doesn't resonate for you, then you can call it whatever you want to call it. But the way it works is that when you have a time that you know you're okay to not be on your phone. So in other words, you're not driving or you're not out and you're just safe at home to be without a phone. You actually have to challenge yourself, which may sound maybe ridiculous or unbelievable to some people. But if you really look at yourself, it is a challenge to be without your phone. So you're going to have to, oh my gosh, that was like the ghost of the phone. No, don't tell them how to do it. But anyway, I'm gonna still tell you guys how to do it. And also, I'm like a bit of a tangent person, so let me just shout out these girls that I met that were so cute. Their names were Maddie, Addie, Atlee, and Ellie. And I was telling them about my channel, and I told them that I wanted to do a phone diet video, and they were so encouraging. So I just wanted to say hi to those cutie pies, and thank you for watching, and please spread my channel to people, because I don't want to do this, and I'm doing this for y'all so y'all can get off your phone, which is ironic because that's where you watch me. But anyway, so you have to make sure that you are in a safe place, like at home, or perhaps in class when you're literally supposed to be paying attention and not scrolling TikToks, because your teachers know, even though you think they don't know, they totally know. So you're going to pick a safe time, and then you are going to have to challenge yourself. Since I didn't like it to begin with, I don't like phones, and that might be something that you need to actually observe about yourself. Do I like it, or is it just a habit of a habit? But do I even like it? Because when I observe that about myself, I can have the habit, right? But if I observe the habit, I realize I actually don't like it. It makes me feel bad because you compare yourself a lot, and comparison is harsh on the self-esteem. So then the phone lends itself to that because you're doing it. But anyway, where was I going? Thank you for joining me on this journey of stream of consciousness. So you're going to have to challenge yourself. And what I would recommend for someone is to time it with something that can keep your attention for the whole solid amount of time. So a typical sitcom or like an episode of SpongeBob is 22 minutes. So what you would want to do is very intentionally say, for these 22 minutes, I'm going to only give my attention to Patrick and Bob. And it will feel like a challenge. But you realizing, oh, this actually feels like a challenge. Two things here. It's going to maybe feel like a little bit cringy or embarrassing to you to admit that, but you have to admit that to get over that. So you're going to start the challenge. Okay, it's the 22 minute challenge, right? I'm going to start the episode of SpongeBob or whatever, Schitt's Creek, whatever you want to watch. And I'm going to put my phone down and away from where I can use it. And then you begin to observe the feelings in your body, like, I'm uncomfortable. I feel like I'm missing out. I feel like my house is on fire and I don't know. Or whatever it is that comes up for you, I suspect that it will be feelings just generally described as discomfort, right? So then when you reach that 22 minute mark, you can't, okay, this is like the next step. Let me not get so hyped because I forget that you guys need steps. So when you reach that 22 minute mark, because the episode is over, don't do commercial breaks, okay? During the commercial breaks, I think it might be tempting to people to be like, oh, let me just cheat. But you're going to want to not admit that it's cheating, but try to push through the commercial breaks. And the thing is if the 22 minutes is hard for you, the way to get over that is to admit, actually 22 minutes is a little bit hard for me not to check my phone or do something on my phone and just give my straightforward attention to whatever show it is that can captivate your attention. Don't purposely pick something that you're like iffy about. You have to pick something that you're like, no, this is my jam right here. So obviously it has to be TV. And then some people might argue like, okay, so you're saying like let go of a small screen for a big screen. In a way, sort of. You'll eventually, from doing this practice, you'll also begin to release the bigger screen over time, but you're not there yet. Just worry about your phone. So that's if you're alone, okay? If you're with a person and they're open about wanting to do this as well, which this would be lessening their phone usage, and they're open and comfortable with you knowing that and admitting that out loud, because what you might think I'm like over exaggerating or like being too much, but what you need to realize is that for some people this might feel like a little bit embarrassing to admit, and for some people it might be embarrassing to admit, so they might like cover it up with like a sort of like jokey joke, like, oh, but I'm just whatever. But anyway, okay, so we can't get that deep or I'll start talking about something else. But if you're with another person and they also want to do the same thing, then it's the same challenge, right? Like pick an episode that you guys would both be down for, but now you have encouragement. It's not competition, because your mind might very easily go to a sense of competition, and that actually does come from the phone, from comparing so much. You're not going to be in competition with the person that you're doing this challenge with. You're going to be their encourager and supporter, but it does have to be genuine. It just does have to be genuine. I don't know how to explain that quite, but the more genuine it is from you, the more genuine it'll be for you to also achieve that goal. So if you have someone like the 4 girls that I mentioned, they could do it in pairs, right? And they would be like, okay, like it's the first commercial break and this kind of sucks, but you're doing it and I'm doing it. Okay, don't do the one that's like a competition where you put your phone down and the first person that picks it up has to pay. That doesn't work in the long term, and it actually activates your desire to like win, and that won't work in the long term. You want to genuinely release your attachment to what you think you're missing, because that's probably what everybody's going to have a sense of missing something. And you're going to have to observe, okay, that is my feeling. I feel like I'm missing out, like FOMO or whatever. And you're going to have to practice self-soothing. And this is really important because self-soothing is important in all areas of life. And you're going to be like, okay, I'm not missing anything. It's only been maybe 7 minutes. I'm pretty sure like the commercial breaks are every 7 minutes. So maybe at the first commercial break, check in with yourself. I feel like I'm missing something. I feel like I missed an important text. You observe that and you have to self-soothe which if you don't know what self-soothe means, it just means you're going to tell yourself, no, it's fine, I'm not. If it was urgent, somebody else would come and tell me. Even if it is urgent, it can wait another 7 minutes, especially if you're a kid. Nobody needs that sort of urgency from you, okay? So then you have to self-soothe. And then what becomes key, and also I'll also give this tip for iPhone users. I don't know if you use an Android, if it probably has a similar feature, but I have an iPhone. An iPhone has a feature where you can put your phone on mindfulness and you can select which apps are available to you, but you have to really kind of be strict with yourself and just say like, okay, like I use that app a lot, because I don't like phones or whatever, and I just have music on it, and maybe that's it, honestly. So I just allow music. So the mindfulness feature lets you have just apps, so your phone isn't so busy with stuff. It just lets you have one app, and then you can put it to receive certain people's messages or calls. I don't have anybody, but that's, again, I'm a more advanced practitioner of mindfulness, but you can use that to your advantage, the mindfulness feature on iPhone. So here's where it gets kind of nitty gritty with like numbers and stuff, okay? And I will say that if you happen to be watching and are on a weight loss journey, this is a similar thing. I actually have a video about weight loss mind hacks. If you want to check out like my catalog. Sorry. My friend helps me film because I hate being on camera. So I need to have somebody just like behind me so I can chill out and tell you guys this stuff. Anyway, so back to the story. This is where it gets kind of like numbery, okay? And kind of really mental. So if you are able to go even those first 7 minutes and that's all you have, and your like anxiousness towards seeing your phone or whatever is too much, you can't make it past the 7-minute mark, you have got to cheer on your 7 minutes. And so oftentimes, and we see it a lot, or I don't know who he is, but researchers, psychologists and stuff see it a lot in like a health journey where you're trying to lose weight. So I'll explain it with this. So if you can only do like 7 minutes a day of non-phone time, what happens is the typical human mind focuses instead on the 23 hours and 53 minutes that you couldn't do it, okay? It's very typical. Just like in weight loss, when you're trying to lose weight, you focus more on the weight that you still have to lose versus the weight that you've already lost. And what you want to do instead, this is where like the nitty-gritty mind hack comes in, is focus on the minutes that you could do. And you have to observe yourself like, I can only do 7 minutes and she wants to cheer me on. Yeah, that's actually the thought that you have to flip. You have to be like, I did it for 7 minutes. And it's actually that cheering on of what you were able to do that gets you to going to the 8th minute in the long run. So again, it's similar to weight loss when you've maybe lost like 5 pounds, but you want to lose 20 pounds. You focus on like, oh, the 20 pounds I still have. What you need to do is celebrate the pounds, or here the minutes that you were able to remove from like your energy field. You have to focus on what you were able to do, even if it feels minuscule to you. And that's how that will amplify and grow, okay? So our mind, like I said, it's very natural for our mind to be like, oh my God, I can only be without my phone for 7 minutes a day. What kind of person am I? Don't do that, okay? You're going to focus on, I could do it for 7 minutes, even though it sounds like, and I think especially for me, from like the way I am, I think it could sound facetious, but what I'm telling y'all is like deep science, okay? Like advanced mental practices. Focus on what you could kill and you'll be able to kill more, okay? Cheer yourself on. That's why the support, if you do it with somebody else, is really essential, because it's the support that gets you to the next minute and then like possibly an hour. And so you also, so that's like super important. I'm just gonna say it again. And you also want to observe yourself in positive ways when you're without your phone. Like, actually, I'm less tense, or I'm not comparing myself, or I'm not judging myself. Because when you're on your phone, it's human nature. It has nothing to do with you personally. You just tend to compare, and you tend to do what's like a micro judgment, which is like, oh, she didn't do it that great. It's like the last person or the last TikToker or this and that's actually a micro judgment. And it doesn't affect the person on the phone. It doesn't affect the two-dimensional person. It affects the three-dimensional person, which is you. You start to consume a lot of like micro judgments into your field and into your thought process. And since you're never going to meet the creator, that sort of thought process affects you in the mirror. Like, oh, I used to be this and I used to be that. And compared to so-and-so, I'm this and that. Okay. And that comes from like excessive phone usage, because the mind has to compare and contrast for survival. But y'all are not surviving on those phones. That's for like caveman days. And so you're using a skill that's necessary for survival in something that needs not that sort of energy. So I will say, like, when I keep a phone diet, even people ask me like, oh my gosh, what if something happens? What if somebody calls you and you're not there? Like my friends, you know, they know that I'm not into phones. Literally that's never happened. And I've been keeping a phone diet for like 3 years. It's been fine. It's been A-okay. And it's also been hard. And again, I'm a person that doesn't even like it. I don't even get on it. And I recognize it's hard. That's why each minute is going to count, because it sounds like fluffy and silly and everybody makes fun of the teenagers for having their phones. But to now undo that is actually difficult. And I will say, if you're a teenager, my heart goes out to you, because during the pandemic, you were essentially forced to be on a device, right, for school and like for survival and like community and stuff. And so it's actually kind of unfair, because now we're like expecting you guys to let go of something that is naturally addictive. I'm an adult. I study the mind and I don't like it. And it can become addictive to me, you see? So of course, to a teenager, it's like, yeah, and we made you guys do it for like Zoom school or whatever, and now we're like yoinking it out. So you do need support. And even though it sounds silly and fluffy and maybe your parents are annoying about it, it is actually a hard skill. Okay, so that's how you do a phone diet. You just, like, when you're not on your phone, right, you start to observe like, oh, my life is like this. Or if you have siblings, you need to take a hard look at your siblings and be like, oh, my little sister is actually a little bit more grown than the last time that I really like paid attention, because she was next to me, but I was on my phone. So what I'm trying to say without hurting your feelings is that you're not living life. You're not living IRL. And this might actually sound like judgment, but it's not coming from judgment at all. Something that can shake you out of this practice is if you tend to take like a lot of selfies, and this is not judgmental, but I can see how it might sound judgmental to certain people. If you take a lot of selfies, reduce your phone time, right? Do the 7-minute challenge or the 22-minute, whatever, do a challenge. And during that time, maybe if you're at school or you're at a concert or you're at wherever, look at other people who are on their phones instead of being IRL. Like people who are at literal major events are on their phone. They're missing like the major event, but that might be you. So what you want to do is look at the people doing that. Look at the concert goers that are videotaping or taking selfies. Watch them and be like, watch them, that little person, and then expand like your sort of realization or awareness or consciousness to the whole moment and be like, bro, that person is on their phone and they're like at this like major concert. And you're going to start to recognize how much they're missing out of real life, and it'll kind of snap you not to want to do that. For me, and again, this is no judgment at all. I'm not into phones. I don't do like selfies and stuff. So when I'm out and I see people, I'm just going to be like, keep it real, okay? And I see people doing selfies in particular with a friend, and they make like all these faces like super happy. One, I do what I just told you, is that I observe them, and then I observe the surrounding as a whole. And how do they look right now? Like, to me, they look like WALL-E, if you've ever seen that movie. with the little robot. So that's like an observation to me where I'm like, no, I don't want to live that. I want to live in real life. And then I also observed that as soon as they put the selfie phone down, like they're like another person. They're like not even having fun. And so I guess for me, I'm like, I don't want to be like that because it seems kind of fake or not true, which sounds, I don't know if it sounds judgy because it's not a judgment because everybody does it, right? But if you break away from your phone and start observing everybody doing it, and then you're like, it actually does look odd. You're just in the middle of like a playground and you're just like taking this like super extra like selfie, and then you stop and you're like, it's weird. But you have to be off your phone to observe people doing that. And then you say to yourself, I don't really want to like look like that. So this is how you do a phone diet. Thank you so much. And there is absolutely no judgment in how much you use your phone. Again, I repeat, it can be very difficult. So we often think that, oh, people are saying don't use your phone, so you go like become like this super mindful person, and you're just like meditating in the corner. It's not like that. It is a reduction. Lastly, I want to say thank you to my viewers, and also want to mention that I wrote a book. It's called This Little Light, and it's available on Amazon. And it's about the story of my life and how I love kids and how I learned about the mind and just the good news, you know? So please check me out on Amazon. And again, thank you so much for watching my channel, because I cannot say enough how little this is not for me, even though I seem like it's like for me. Being behind the camera is not for me, but I hope that this helps you guys to live more intentionally in the third dimension, which is the natural world. When you guys are on your phone, you live in two dimension, you know, like cartoons and stuff. And so you want to live your fullest life and be super present, okay? So thank you guys for watching me. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I love you guys so much, and I miss you when you're not here. Oops, I'm back with a little edit. Help from my friends, because I don't know how to edit on the internet. But my friend who's going to help me edit this on the internet asked this question, and I love this question. They asked, what if you use your phone for work? Because I was thinking about kids. So if you use your phone for work, or if you're an adult wanting to do this, I'm actually going to speak to this in the terms of masculine and feminine energy. And if you're not into that, I'm sorry, but that's how it is. So if you use your phone for work, that is a masculine energy. What you want to do is be more intentional of your schedule and of your downtime. Okay, I use my phone for work, but I'm going to only use it from this hour to this hour. And then at this hour, you're going to have to do an hour challenge of like, this is my mindful time for my family or my partner or my dog or whatever. So that's how you use it in a masculine energy sort of way. You're very intentional about your schedule and your hours. And then you have to do it, because when you're off, you're going to get that itch like, I'm going to get an important email from my boss or whatever. And you have to self-soothe just like the kids. And then as far as like feminine energy and phones, you don't want your phone to dictate your life. You don't want any object to dictate your life. When you're in your feminine energy, you dictate it, okay? You're the boss and you tell it what to do. So if you're addicted to your phone, it's dictating your life, and that's not feminine energy. I'm not saying necessarily it's not feminine. Take it as you will. But when you're in your feminine energy, objects work for you. But if you are addicted to something, you are then, therefore, it's a slave, like you're working for it. And that's just like not sexy girls, okay? So make it work for you by turning it off and just using it very also intentionally. Like I use mine probably as a journal, and it's like a 2024 Walkman, if you know what that is. So thank you, audience, for this question. And thank you, audience, for accepting my edit. Bye again.